Hello and welcome. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Surbhi Mitra. I am a psychiatrist as well as the moderator of this show. Our show used to be called Mind Matters, if you remember. And we ran the series for almost 2 years continuously with a lot of wonderful speakers who joined us multiple times with multiple topics of mental health, topics of various physical and medical health issues, and also socially important topics. So today is another day, and we have started, the series again after a year. So we took a gap of 1 year because we had to launch the app. We had a lot of other launches. We were doing a lot of other work going on, and then we had to, take a break with the series. But now we are back again, and we would be continuing this as usual. So thank you for joining us. And today we are again here with a social topic. Basically, we had International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2024, and this year's theme was inspiring inclusivity. And for that, we have five wonderful women joining us for this topic. They are from different parts of life, different professions, personal and professional lives are absolutely different, and that is why we would be talking about their own personal and professional journeys, of course, revolving around the topic of inspiring inclusivity. So we have for this Dr. Dipanjana Datta. Please join the screen.
Hi, Dr. Survey. I am Dr.
Hello,
Dipanjana
Dr.
Datta.
Dipanjana. Yes,
Hi,
please
hi.
introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Dr. Dipanjana Datta. I'm a medical geneticist and I am from Calcutta. So, a bit of a different field. I deal with genetic disorders and like I'm also the state coordinator for Organization of Rare Disease India.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
So the next speaker that we have is Rimjim Ray. Please unmute yourself.
I am not on mute.
Yeah,
Can you not
now
hear
you
me?
are. Yeah,
Yeah.
now we can hear you.
Hi. Hi, Surabhi. Thanks for having me here as part of this fantastic panel. I am Rimchim. I'm the co-founder CMO at Heophone. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 9 years, following a career across the world in tech and then in advertising. I'm also an angel investor in various startups, and I'm building. And there's also a philanthropic side that I'm following along with my mother, where we're building Sangamitra Foundation. Uh, so as Surabhi was saying, or as when we talk about women, we generally talk about balancing multiple roles. So in fact, Sangamitra is an initiative where we want to support more women, especially in their health journey, because as we try to balance multiple roles, as we become overachievers both outside and inside, it's very important to take care of our health and to take care of ourselves. So with that aspect, we've also founded the Sangamitra Oasis. So there are multiple facets to me. I hope that we'll uncover some of them as we speak today. Thanks, Uravi.
Thank you so much for joining us, Rimjim. Also, the next speaker we have is Snigdha Ray Burman.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Snigdha Ray Burman. I'm currently a student in Calcutta and I'm giving my 12th for now. I hope to pursue journalism when I get to college, and hopefully, I get to learn a lot of interesting things on this topic today from all of you.
Thank you, Snigdha. The next speaker that we have is Mithila. Mithila. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. So, I've actually been in fashion for many, many years before I quit my job to be a full time stay at home mother for my two boys. And I'm just used to juggling many, many roles at the same time because I also run a staff at home. I also manage two children, and I'm a trustee on two social welfare foundations as well. So, I'm always juggling, always on the go while managing a lot of you know, people and activities. So I'm hoping to really contribute something to the discussion today that will give people insight on how inclusivity and diversity work.
Thank you, Mithila. Also, the sixth speaker that we had for today is Dr. Vaidehi Marathe. Unfortunately, she is busy right now in an emergency surgery. Once she is free, she will join us. If not, then of course, patients come first. So it's absolutely fine. So we have four wonderful women on this panel. So beginning with Dipanjana, Dr. Dipanjana, how do you see diversity playing a role in genetic research and also healthcare, particularly concerning women's health issues?
Let me just break this question into two parts. Number one, women in healthcare, like in genetics. So, just to make a point that when we say genetic research, it's a very wide field. And though we have, and in this field we actually have biotechnology, we do have a bit of coding, we do have bit of wet lab basic science, we also have a clinical side, and we also have a huge side of medical geneticists who are basically doctors in the field. And if we look at it, it's basically dominated by women. On the contrary of the other fields, it's basic seed field is biology, and if we are looking at it, then more women opt for biology for some reason, and there are less number of men in the field. But if I look at how many women are successful scientists, there the ratio is a bit skewed. So though the number initially of women joining biology and women joining scientific research is more like these kind of scientific research is much more like we in our class we used to have two boys or three boys, but those two three boys, they are right now in very good positions. But if I'm looking at a class of 20, the other maybe 16 girls who were there, of them maybe we just see four or five actually in good positions and succeeding and continuing. So there's a loss, there is definitely a regression, I would say, as we go up. The second part also is that many a times that we see that people who have gone outside India, they have fared better. So there's also a concept of opportunity. There is also a concept of balancing, because me working both in India and outside, balancing work outside becomes a lot more easier than balancing work in India. So and also in India we do face a lot of judgments, in the sense that when I was applying for my PhD, I was asked that whether I was married or not, and I was just married at that time. And the question that was asked was, would my husband and my in-laws at that time interfere, because PhD would require me to be here for 16, 18 hours, and what will happen if I become pregnant in the middle? So their project will get sort of it will get not the attention that it needs, and it would require them to stall and require more time. So at that time my answer was that my commitment to the post would be 100%. What happens in my personal life is none of their business. The same thing was never questioned when I went for PDF. I already had two children. Like I already had one child, like I was pregnant with one child at that time, and unfortunately within just 1.5 years I was pregnant again. And I was very scared that I will lose my job over there, but they were like, these are natural processes and this is something that can happen. Like you eat, drink, breathe, you are pregnant, why will you stall your life? And that was what's happening with all my colleagues over there. They were having children, and the whole entire system was supporting. So, though my boss, my PhD boss, even answers this question right now to many people, that that they what the Panjana said even before she got the job as a PhD scholar, that that it's none of my business what she does personally, actually hit me. And from then on, I have never asked any other female student, like if they are married, if they want to have kids, what they want to do, because actually it's none of my business. unless they are productive at my lab, which is exactly and precisely how things should have been. Similarly, I'll give you another example. So when I did my PhD, I did my PDF, though I had a very supportive environment, like I did what I wanted. But continuously, when I had kids, and like when you have kids, you do have a rough time. So I was asked that बहुत like you have done a lot. So now when are you going to stop? Like when are you going to come back home and start doing everything at home? So, though these questions were very subtle, they were not imposed, but understand that these questions is faced, like if I look around, this is faced by every one of us. Like even after so many years, I have one of my interns who was who has a good track record, has a good apprenticeship, and she just got married and she was just applying for a job in a corporate in a place like Bangalore, and she was asked the same question that no, we cannot take you. It was not very direct, but they were like, oh, you just got married, so you must have your commitment, so I don't think you're up for the role. That was what she was told. So understand discrimination as is very subtle, even no matter how educated you are, and no matter even if we are dominating this particular field. Hence the number of successful, even if the men are less in the field, they are at the top and they are sort of pushing it. Now, if I come to the exact field I work on, genetic counselors, men are very rare creatures in this field. And there are very few men who are actually medical geneticists, and it's definitely a woman-dominated field. But here, also that there is trouble with the work hours, there's trouble with the money which we are getting. Definitely the wages are not fair with the amount of commitment we give. That there is definitely discrimination in the payment part. And also we are not getting any paid leaves. We are not getting, and the maternity leave is hardly there because you're expected to work from home and you are actually continuously working. So most of the women I know who went through motherhood, they were asked to do a part-time job with some engagement, but they were actually, it ended up for them doing full-time job, and then it ended up them leaving the job because they thought that it was not being fair to any of the sides. So these kind of pressures are definitely there for women here. The other part I would like to highlight, because this is something which you asked for health, and I will not go into other kinds of health because then the discussion would be too long. But I'll just highlight about X-linked disorders, because I'm a geneticist and we all know that we have two, like there's the chromosomes are there. There's two parts to sex determination. One is determination and one is differentiation. And when we say determination, we all know that XX makes women and XY makes men. But there are some genetic issues that happen where a woman passes on a problem or a genetic issue to the child. Very common ones are hemophilia, which the royal family has it, only males get it, but it is transmitted from females. So there are numerous other such disorders like DMD, Fragile X, which the females are all okay, but the males get affected. Now, I will essentially say about these disorders because this creates a lot of discrimination to the point that women are left uh, divorced, and they are just left with their babies to tend for themselves without even being given any kind of alimony, on the ground that it was a genetic disorder, and it was not disclosed to the family, and it was a cheating. So you understand the implication it bears. Also, these women are very scared to test their daughters because they feel that their daughters will not get married because their daughters can also be carriers like them. So the discrimination is huge. We also see when it comes to treating children with genetic disorders because the cost is too much. There was an observation when we were doing a clinical trial that we were seeing that we were getting more male children. Um, when we were getting more male children, the question was, is India, this is the incidence of this disease more in the men, or the male population. But then we realized, with our psychologists and with our epidemiologists, that it's basically that most of these families are bringing their sons forward and not the daughters, because they feel that the son has the right to live, because treatment is expensive, follow-ups are expensive, even if the trial is free, the follow-ups are expensive, so they will like to spend that on the male child, and they will not spend that on the female, the daughter. uh, to the extent that, though you understand that sex determination is banned by the government of India, but there are many ways where these people get to know what is the sex of the fetus, and they don't bother to test, if it's a female child. If it's a male child, they will then only test in the womb, and then only they, if it's a healthy one, they will continue the pregnancy. So discrimination is in a number of levels. With that, I think I'll pass it. I think I've given the message as to what I wanted to say, and then maybe add on later.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nipanjana, for an elaborate answer, actually. And we will definitely keep talking about this when it comes to the further moving of the session. And there are a lot of questions that you have already answered, but maybe certain questions can be answered later as well. But now moving on to Rimjin, I would like to ask you that what steps basically have you taken to ensure inclusivity and diversity, sorry, what am I saying? Diversity within your company, and what challenges have you faced in promoting inclusivity in the business world?
Right. Okay. Um, so, eh, so I believe in affirmative action, and I believe that if you are doing bias-free hiring, you automatically end up promoting diversity. Having said that, there are certain challenges that probably women face more. That even Dipanjana was saying that there are certain opportunities that they're forced to say no to because of family situations, etc. So our company is 100% remote. Our product team, our tech team has a lot of women. With in fact, our product is headed by women, which again, these are fields, engineering products are still fields largely dominated by men. And our tech support, for example, the entire technical infrastructure is headed by a woman. And I think we have been able to bring forward these women by promoting remote work. So most of them are also mothers and exceptional professionals. We ensure that they get the right environment to deliver and as per their talents, by giving them this remote work culture. So this is something that I have done or we have done at our organization. I not just take the credit for this, of course, something that the co-founders have ensured. Number one. Number two is, I think when more women rise to the top, generally you're opening doors behind you, right? So whenever I see a chance to promote another girl or a woman, it's instinctive, right? You want to promote that person. So it's more important that more of us reach the top, because as we reach the top, we talk about this old boys club, right? Which kind of sort of creates a networking platform for men. Boys hang out on over cigarettes, and then the next promotion is ensured. So at the end of the day, we are not, we are humans and we are subjected to bias. Now, how do you counter that bias? By having more of us, by basically creating the data set as a more homogeneous universalized set. So definitely, I think we need to promote as women. As women rise to the top, they need to promote more women. They need to ensure that the right opportunities go. So given the same equal opportunity, a girl and a boy will not perform differently. And we have seen that in board exams, we have seen that in IS exams, we have seen that in entry entrance exams. What has then happened is, because of the societal pressures, we talked about a difference between an India and America, or an India and the Western world. We talked about conservative societies versus more liberal societies. You see women dropping out of the workforce here because of challenges at home, because of biases that they face at work. Because even standing in 2024, if someone is being asked that if you're married, then you're not fit to do the job, that's really, really unfortunate. So I think that is something that we need to, as women, we need to raise the voice for it, which I've been consistently doing. And also, I think we need to break more and more stereotypes. So every time, so I have I mean, so much so that I'm often called aggressive, but it's okay, and I don't mind that label so much anymore. uh, if I believe in something, I'm going to be very vocal about it. I'm not going to take mansplaining. I'm going to put my foot down if my male managers are showing bias. I'm going to put my foot down if there are, if inconducive situations are being created for women. So I make sure that is there. I make sure that biases are not there. Oh, women are not good at maths. So those kind of statements are kind of, everyone knows if Rimjim is in the room, you cannot just say them. uh, doesn't matter if, if it's kind of, if it basically reflects my aggression or whatever it is. I'm happy being aggressive to take up a certain cause. um, Third, I think, this is something that I do every day at home. I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and this is something that I thank my mom for. When my mom brought us up, two daughters, we being born in the early 80s, that's a generation which was kind of cross, between the between more conservative generation and a generation which was just opening up, which saw internet, we saw telephones, etc. when we were pretty young, and we basically made the transition from Doordarshan to MTV. But I'm thankful that even when I grew up in this generation, the 90s kid, so to speak, I had a mom who never said, because you're a girl, you cannot do this thing. I often heard a lot of my friends' parents say that, but never my mom. She said, you can go swimming, you can go driving, you can go horse riding, you can go rifling, you do whatever you want to. Because there were certain chances that she herself was denied because she was a woman. She could have made a very good professional. She was denied those chances. So that inclusivity, the diversity, that feeling of thinking of, that you are all equal, that there's nothing different in me, there's nothing inferior in me because I'm happen to be born with two X chromosomes, that was passed on very strongly by my mother. And that is something I kind of pass on very consciously to my daughter, that there are no gender biases. As a girl, you can do anything. There's nothing that you should do only this as a girl, you should not do this as a girl. I discourage anyone, even in 2024, you hear relatives commenting, oh, she's a girl, she should do this. So no, don't tell her that. Don't tell her what she can do, what she can or cannot do because she's a girl. What you can or cannot do depends on you as an individual, and every individual is different. I, as a girl, might love solving maths. I, as a girl, might love cooking. Both of them are me. But I'm not going to get straight jacketed into just something because I'm a girl. So that's a thinking that I practice very, very consciously. That is something I kind of carry from my home into every startup, into every company, or into every board that I walk into. So I think if you have to create a more equal world, if you create a more productive world, because these are hard facts, right? Diversity is not just a good thing to put on your brochure. It actually makes sense on your bottom line and your top lines. Companies with more diverse boards have more profitability. That's a universally proved fact, by the corroborated by research. So diversity actually makes business sense. For us to promote more diversity, we need to, like probably Sheryl Sandberg said, that we also ourselves have to lean in. So when an opportunity is being offered to you, and this is another, I'm probably digressing a little bit, but just kind of allow me this kind of specific thought. So I was here talking to a hiring manager, and they said the man applies for a job when he meets roughly 25% of the criteria. Woman applies for the job if she was only meeting 110% of the criteria. So in a lot of ways, our thinking also holds us back. So instead, we'll have to be, like I said, it's okay people are calling you aggressive. It's okay people are calling you loud. It's okay, you do not have to be apologetic. It's important that you walk into a room, that you very loudly pull out the chair and you sit at that board table. When an opportunity is being offered to you, say yes. There are a lot of things that hold us back. There are certain times that it has even happened to me. I've said no to opportunities. I came back from UK. I did a lot of things, which I might not have done if I had again probably relived my life. This is something that we hear learn with experience, that we often say no to opportunities because the social inhibitions weigh us down, because to an extent our psychography weighs us down. If you're able to, one thing is the company creating opportunity for you, the second is you creating opportunities for yourself. At the end of the day, it's your life, you have to live it, you have to make your own opportunities. And so that's the kind of thinking that I promote everywhere. And hopefully following that example, even if 5 girls, 10 girls uh, kind of rise up and shine, I think my day and my life will be met.
Thank
Passing
you
it
so
back
much,
to you.
Rimjim. Yeah, thank you so much. So we were basically talking about a lot of gender stereotypes. I think we have talked about this earlier as well. So yeah, there are a lot of gender stereotypes in which it's like women are supposed to cook and women can't drive. So all these things keep happening. So I was, discussing this with one of my friends as to how ridiculous and stupid women may sound. I mean, Do they sound stupid to the society? Because we may say, okay, I'll allow my husband to work after marriage. It's not an issue. Okay, if my husband doesn't know cooking, it's not an issue. I mean, we hear such things post marriage or, even before marriage, that, okay, we will allow women to wear this and go out. So, what if we say this, okay, we will allow my husband to wear this when he wants to go out? So, I think, yeah, maximum of the population will agree that it may sound ridiculous, but at the same time, this is something that needs to be targeted because it's a gender stereotype. Anyway, so moving ahead with Snigdha, how do you navigate inclusivity and diversity in your campus? And like, what actions do you think universities can take to create more inclusive environments for women? As a
Can
student.
you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So the first thing that I would like to address is what does inspiring inclusivity actually means. It means that inspiring women to be inclusive in all sectors of life, be it professional or domestic. I think that's what inspire inclusion means to me. Now, the first part of your question, as you said, that how would I promote inclusivity in my own campus or something like that? I think I would, the main thing that I would do is make everybody feel very equally involved. Like, if everybody has varying abilities and varying talents and such things like that. So, um, addressing those abilities and seeing that okay, this women are capable of more creative aspects and men are more for physical work. All these distinctions and discriminations, I don't think I would support that. I think if a woman is strong enough or is powerful enough to carry on physical labor and a man is more creative, I think those sort of distinctions I would allow. Then and if universities were to, for say, include inclusion, then mentorship programs, education initiatives, all these stuff, I think these can really help a woman sort of see that, okay, there are opportunities opening up right now for all of us. And I think these will kind of help us get that podium or that proper light for us to showcase our skills. So I really think even powerful women set as an example. I think that's also very important when we are promoting inclusivity, that okay, this is a proper example of a female who's actually made it. This particular thing can also give confidence to like a lot of women who maybe feel that no, women are not meant for the spotlight or women are not meant for this achieving something which is big or climbing the corporate ladder. Right now there are a lot of powerful women climbing the corporate ladders. Before this was not likely so, because women were not given big positions because they were thought to be, they're going to get pregnant or they're going to get married and that will affect the workforce and etc etc. Now, but now I think there is a lot of inclusion which is getting around, and I think women are seeing other women, strong women, and taking them as examples and climbing the different ladders. So in university or in campuses, I think even examples of such people shown to young students, young minds, can influence a lot of women to step out and achieve their goals. Then another thing that I think universities can do is that film is now a very major talk and in university courses, and I think film is media is taking a really big turn. So if universities can sort of arrange short films or something like that, even made by the young women of colleges and universities, they can take part in it. I think they can challenge social stereotypes and show people, show young women of this generation that that step out into the world, experience it yourself before you restrict yourself to those common stereotypes. I mean, who really even made those stereotypes in the first place? I mean, it was invented so many years back. Times have changed, faces have changed, people have changed. So I think now I think it's time for us to actually see this new world and go ahead with sort of experiencing it ourselves. And I think every woman would should take that opportunity. I think every woman should take the opportunity and sort of you know just put themselves out there and see if really the world is all about those stereotypes, or is it something different, or whether they can challenge it or not.
Okay, thank you, Smigdha. Now, coming to Mithila, you told us at the beginning of the show that you are a stay-at-home mom now, and earlier you played so many roles, professionally, and then you chose to be a stay-at-home mom. So it was your choice. So
Yes.
now, what do you exactly? So now, what do you do for inclusivity and diversity within your family unit and also the community around you? And what strategies do you use to empower other women in similar roles such as yours?
Sure. I always feel that inclusivity and diversity, it begins at home, specifically when you have children at home, because I think having a strong role model as a mother really helps children develop a certain form of respect for the gender. Eventually all these things that these children see lead them to grow up with a value system which treat women equally. And at the moment, I'm the sole woman in a nuclear family with three males and an all female staff. And here I feel I lead by example. So, my staff, my children, they routinely see my husband and I take all decisions pertaining to this family unit together. Whether it comes to opinions, they see me freely giving opinions, those opinions being taken very seriously, and discussions being had before any final thing is done. So I feel that makes a huge impact on both my staff and my children. They see equal weightage given to both the father and the mother, which is a great example for everybody on how to be, with women. They are not voiceless people who work in the background. Now we employ a staff of both men and women. And I feel in order to empower them, you need to allow them to build up on their skill set. Now, since I deal with domestic stuff largely, I feel it's very important that you sort of empower them by giving them vocational training in things like maybe sewing, as simple as sewing, computer classes, cooking classes, which sort of help them to move on and generate higher income because their skill sets are getting built on. And it is also very important that all women get basic education in money management, things like opening accounts. What do you do with your salary that comes into your account? Where do you sort of deploy that money? How much do you save? How much do you leave, send to your parents and your children? Because most of the women living with me and working with me are generally married, their kids are in the village and being raised by their families. So their knowledge is so basic about these things, and it's very, very critical that they learn to manage what they're earning. And these kind of opportunities of even learning only come through women like us because they're watching us and seeing what we do at home. So I think it's a very, I mean, you might call it a stay at home parent, but I think it's a very important role that you play because you're not only bringing up an entirely new generation and teaching them a new value system that's now going to be so important in the coming world. At the same time, empowering and educating women who are also at par with you, perhaps even older than you, and teaching them that what they've learned all these years is perhaps not the best way to do things. So that's how I think I lead by example.
Yeah, that is really important when you talk about this because I remember my mother being an example setter for me, and I always tell this, to the people around me or to my friends that I never grew up in a place that practiced strict patriarchy. So
Correct.
at my place, rather I would say probably there was matriarchy. But yes, I do, I have seen what you said exactly, like having equal opinions, those opinions being respected, then taken forward as to in the decision making process and all of that, and your children watching that,
And
and that is
sometimes
really really important.
as your mother-in-law or your grandmother-in-law holding on to strong patriarchal beliefs because they've been ingrained into the system for so long.
True.
So sometimes it's my children who might go up to somebody, my 9-year-old boy who might just go up to somebody in the family who are much older and say, hey, you know what, this isn't okay. How you're being spoken to is not okay. You perhaps need to step up and say that, no, my opinion needs to be respected. You need to learn how to, you cannot take me for granted. And sometimes it's a
Right.
9-year-old boy who teaches you that, who grows up with a mother who sets a very strong example for him.
Absolutely, absolutely agreed. Because when I see my patients, like those especially belonging to a lower socioeconomic strata, the women generally come with complaints of depression, and then when we talk more about it, then we get to know that the woman has been abused, there has been a lot of domestic violence, the husband is an alcoholic or maybe a drug user, whatever it is, and they are kind of okay with it, or probably they try to show that it is okay in their family, and which we have to tell them that no, this is not okay, this behavior is not okay. Because some of the women are the sole breadwinners of the family, and the husband is probably an alcoholic and not working and is at home constantly, and these women are rather enablers to such a behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they actually talk about it in this way कि ठीक है ना वो आते हैं रोज, इतना ही पीते हैं, कल
And
180 ml लिया
also,
था, आज 240 ही लिया है.
correct. And it's also sort of a mentality where, you know what, you have the child and you're sent away to work. Whatever you make is not your own. Your husband dictates to you that how much of you make, where does it all of it go? So I routinely ask my
Yeah,
helpers, you know, what do I do with what you earn? They say, oh, please send it to your husbands, they will decide. And I have to always
yeah,
counsel them saying, no, that's not okay. It's not okay to
yeah,
give all of it away. You need to be well aware of where your hard earned money is going.
absolutely. So right. So now we'll all have common questions, rather than targeting one single speaker. And a lot of it has already been answered, and we have been talking for over 37 minutes now. So we will be quick now, and we'll start with the commonest questions. Like, we see so many women having different backgrounds, and we try to address intersectional issues such as race, gender, and socioeconomic status. So, what strategies can we employ to ensure all voices are heard in these conversations? And we did talk about this already, but I think we could add regarding this wherein Dr. Dipanjana and Rimjin can also step in.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right, I start. See, I think social media, right? Uh, Despite all its negativities, it has opened up a channel for women, right? So, uh, digital has definitely promoted more diversity and more inclusion. They have brought women more to the forefront because you see where the biases, or where the not exactly the biases, where the shackles for women lie. If you go out in India on a public street, and you see the difference if you go out in Europe versus you go out in India. If you go out in Europe on a road, you're walking down the road, you see equal number of girls and boys. A lot of the time, you see more girls because those countries usually have a higher percentage of female population. In India, just kind of think of the time you're going out, take on a climb a crowded train, you see the percentage of women much lesser because we are not occupying public spaces here. When we are not occupying public spaces, we are not our voices are not being heard. On the other hand, digital kind of takes away that stigma or the shackle of not being able to go out and occupy space in the public. Digital is accessible to everyone. In fact, data shows that women and men in India are using internet almost equally. So I think internet is a very important equalizer. Internet is a very important channel which is giving women voices. And using us, we all of us are active on places like say LinkedIn or Facebook. Yes, it is digital activism, but that digital activism can also be, creating large impact because we've seen that, we've seen the power of Twitter in fueling movements like the Arab Spring, for example, or even, there are movements in various parts of the world. So I think that this is one area, make internet as free as possible, make digital accessible to everyone. The more, ensure that women have access to the device. If you're doing that, I think more than, because physical, for them occupying space in the physical world has comes with a lot of limitations, comes with a lot of restrictions in country like us, but digital is far 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 more accessible. So that is one thing, make this accessible. Second, of course, we have been talking about this, all of us, come from a certain background of privilege. So Ravi, the kind of women you are talking about, probably the larger percentage in India, those do not have access to the same privileges as us. So for us to say, even say that yes, we are empowered, I think it's probably not a right representation. But having said that, all of us who have got that privilege, who have made a certain stand in life, who have achieved a certain position in life, like we've all been speaking, be it opening up doors for our maids, be it kind of fighting for the cause of the education of the girl child, or even if you cannot do so much, including creating just inclusive workspace in your own organization where every voice, irrespective of whether it's male, female, race, gender, doesn't matter, that is being heard. I think that's a responsibility that falls all of us who have kind of made certain progress in life. So this is how I think that all of us can contribute to creating a more equal world where every voice is heard.
I actually have a different take on this. I somehow feel that currently, though we are saying that urban women are more empowered, if you actually go into the rural areas, you will see women are extremely empowered, not by education, but by the sheer grit. So, if you go to the mountains, you will see most of these homestays, most of these tourism industry in the northeast mountains are run by women. If you go to South India, most of the small business which is flourishing are run by women. So the thing is financial independence, and empowerment is not really reaching a position in my sense and making spaces. Of course, that's extremely important, but at the same time, empowerment also comes with self belief. So if you see, if you go to Punjab, you will see that there are women farmers, and same thing you will see in West Bengal also. But if you just go to Bihar, Uttarakhand, the sheer way a woman is treated is extremely different than many parts. So understand first thing, and that there are mother-in-laws who are treating their bahus in a very bad way. So what, and also, like, I'll just give you a personal experience. Like, if you are single or divorced, even an urban woman, they will say that you are a person with whom the other children shouldn't meet, because you are coming from a broken house and it's not a right house. So there's a lot of judgment and discrimination among women itself. Though it's very nice to speak on social media and speak very fancy stuff, but what I feel is that this way, rural women are much more open. They don't understand what problem you are going through, but they do associate the problem you are going through. So there's no sympathy, because they also say that our husbands are doing it the same way. So I really believe that what we need to do correct is change the judgment of the society in a small ways, and also financial independence that gives empowerment. It's also fixing the crown of your fellow women, and also creating a workspace which is safer. Like, if we don't train, or if we don't train our boys correctly, these boys will never treat the girls correctly, their rights correctly.
Yes. Snigdha and Mithila, would you like to add?
Yes, I still believe that social media is a very big, sort of podium in which you can promote inclusivity. She said that there are so many incidents which, which is supposed to be controlled by self-belief. That, in an environment where you live, if people are supportive, then yes, you're going to have a supportive self-belief. But then, I think social media can very much help inclusivity, because um, say some woman has experienced a bad instance in their life or something like that. If they take that thing and they sort of promote it on social media, like there are so many skits like the sas bahu thing, that the mother-in-law usually sort of criticizes the wife if they come from a broken home or something like that. These days, what we, the Gen Z generation, usually see, there's so many funny skits made about it. I mean, it's taken in a comical approach, but behind it, it is definitely a more serious topic. So all these small skits and all these small reels that we see, I think people are getting aware that okay, women do have these differences. It's more out in the open, like social media is basically getting stuff out in the open. It is basically a whole platform which is based on all of that. And I think that, women's daily struggles are getting promoted through social media. I think women's confidence is, there's so many influencers. Most of the influencers are women. And I think, they're broadcasting their talents, their problems, their incidents, everything that they've faced in life. They're making it, sort of out there in the world, and so many people are watching it. So I think inclusivity is getting promoted. And me sitting in this generation, I see strong independent women in every nook and corner these days. Every woman is getting independent, every woman is earning some sort of economic revenue and stuff like that. And it's inspiring to see that it was completely different a few days back, a few years back, that women were restricted to the households or something like that. These days women are working from home as influencers through social media. And I think social media is definitely taking inclusivity to a whole new level altogether. And it's a strong platform where we can definitely participate and sort of make inclusivity a more relevant topic in today's field.
All right. Thank you, Snigdha. Now, moving ahead with Mithila, I would like to add that, now listening to all the three of them, I was thinking that what about the women who do not have access to social media? And I think maximum of the women population in India does not have much access to social media. And also, like, when it comes to these women, what can women in power or women who are leaders do to promote inclusivity in a male dominated field?
Could you repeat that honestly? I'm sorry, but I think you broke up, so I didn't understand your question.
Okay, yeah. So while I was listening to everyone, I got to 2 points basically. One was that about social media being a main promoter of inclusivity. So I was thinking, what about the women who are like the maximum population in India who do not have access to social media? That is number one. And number
Okay.
two, taking these women into consideration, what can the women in power or the women who hold leadership roles do to help such women in male dominated fields?
So, honestly, I don't always believe that social media promotes a lot of inclusivity because social
Yeah,
media at the end of it is a mirage. You put up what you want to look at or look like on social media. It is never a representative of what you're actually doing in life and what you truly believe. You can always say the right things on social media, but how you're treated at home, how you let people treat you, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your family, or whether it's at your workplace, is sort of the greatest example of how diverse and inclusive even you feel about yourself. So I don't really equate social media and inclusivity and diversity. I think those are two completely different things because I truly believe that a lot of things you see on social media aren't always true. And it can all be branded sort of content. And I think the real problem is actually all in the head. It's all mentality. It's how people actually think, and women sometimes think about themselves. You know, Faye D'Souza, I just noticed that something very interesting she said very recently, where she mentioned that whenever anyone compliments her, her first tendency is to say that, oh no, you know what? It wasn't even such a good thing that I did. It's not such a great job. It's average. Which actually somebody like her, who for years and years has been on the forefront for women, actually still feels underconfident enough to say that, hey, no, you know what? I've done a great job with this. So, to a certain extent, I feel that you as a person need to feel very strongly about yourself and get the confidence to stand. And that for women like these, you meant that were sort of always considered the lower lung in the ladder in society in general, for them to feel that kind of confidence comes from a certain respect that needs to be given to them by their families, and for them to also stand up for themselves and say, okay, you know what, I am earning now, I have independence, and all of you are reliant on me. If they're working somewhere, as my staff is, And if they're not, then perhaps for them to step up and slowly lead the change in their own families. Maybe start small, start with the smaller decisions. Speak to people and partners and say that, hey, you know what? This is what I have to say. This is my opinion about it. Because change is not going to come suddenly. These kind of things happen slowly over a period of time. It could very well also be them taking support through their children, their in laws, and then slowly, slowly, slowly climbing up those rungs in the ladder.
Yeah. Okay. You know, while I was listening to all of you, I also thought of one incident that happened with me. I was just sitting in the office, and like I had two, three senior doctors with me, and we started with the topic of how the entrance exams should be conducted, like especially in the medical field, and who should be given the seats and what should be the marking and all of those things. And suddenly, one of the doctors said that male doctors said that I really think that more and more seats should be given to the boys and not to the girls. And I was shocked. I was like, why? I mean, because nowadays we have seen a shift in the medical profession. Like now there are more women, more girls coming into MBBS and MD and all of that, and lesser number of boys these days. uh, so I said that, but the scenario is changing. Why are you saying this? And he had a point which made me think, but also went against me because, of course, I'm a woman. So he said that ultimately तो क्या ही होना है, लड़कियां एमबीबीएस करती हैं, फिर एमडी करती हैं, उसके बाद होम मेकर बन के बैठ जाती है. He didn't even say homemaker, actually he said housewife, because many people don't know that they shouldn't use that word, but anyway. So he said that फिर बन के बैठ जाती है, फिर काम भी नहीं करती, they don't even earn, they are not even serving the medical fraternity, so why waste seats on women? So that is what he said. And it made me think that okay, he has a point, but then who forced her to become a homemaker? Either it was her choice, which is very fine, but she, like generally, women in the medical fraternity get married to men in the medical fraternity. That is a general scenario. And these men tend to tell them that we would be working, or they come from a family who says that, after marriage you can't work even if you're a doctor. So who is to be blamed here? So that was one of the incidents that happened with me. I just wanted to share on this platform, which was also funny and very regressive at the same time. And उसने वो चीज ने मेरा फेमिनिज्म जागरूक कर दिया. तो फेमिनिज्म पे आते हैं. A lot of people have different opinions about what feminism is, and they talk about feminism in a way as though it is being a feminazi. If you have heard this word on social media a lot of times, especially used by Gen Z, Snigdha, you will relate with it. That if you post something which is kind of feminist or supports women in a way on your stories or in your post somewhere, suddenly one or two men will DM you, oh you feminazi, oh you this and all. So what is your take on this?
Well, I honestly, there is something called feminazism. I would say sometimes, when you take a particular subject and you talk so much about it, and there are some particular people or a particular crowd who make a little too much fuss about that subject, things tend to turn bitter. So feminazism is a thing prevalent in society. I think, sometimes female rights are too much, spoken about too much, exaggerated in a sense which can make it seem a little unfair for the men. So that I think is feminazism. I've never been subjected to such an experience, being, called that particular term or something. I believe feminism is about equal rights. It's like, you know,
Absolutely, yes.
if a guy can walk two steps ahead, so can I. It's like balancing everything. Balance is very important. That the thing that I wanted to say was that even in feminism, even if it's equal rights, everything needs a balance at the end of the day. So feminism for me is equal rights. I mean, if he can walk two steps ahead, I can walk two steps ahead. Why? Because we both have legs. Uh, that is my take on it, honestly.
Yeah, so the proper definition of feminism is women seeking equal rights. It has
Yes,
nothing to do
equally.
with, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw Mithila unmuting herself. Did you want to say something?
I mean, this is a very so a very interesting reference I just thought of, because there's a Hindi movie that was fairly popular called Dil Dhadakne Do, which I watched. And I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
there
yeah.
was one particular dialogue in that in which one of the pivotal characters talks about his wife, where he says that, look at us, we are so progressive. We let our wife work and we go here,
Yeah.
we let her do things. And then, one of the other characters looks at the man who's saying all this, and he says, but I just have one question to this. Why does she need your permission? So in a
Exactly.
way,
Yeah.
aren't you also an enabler to making her feel like she is not on an equal platform as you? So I mean, it was such a poignant moment in that movie, because I felt that it hit the note just right. Because here there was this woman who is seemingly so successful, seemingly at the top of her game and running a big enterprise of her own, but yet living at home in a situation where her husband felt like he had to give her permission to be able to do this. And that is the reality of a lot of women in India.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say earlier, that imagine women saying this before marriage. I will allow my husband to work, no issue. I will allow my husband to, dress the way he wants and go out. And okay, he doesn't know cooking, it's fine. It's okay. I'll have a maid or something. And like, imagine how ridiculous that would sound if women say that. Okay,
Yes,
Rimjim, did you
right.
want to say something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say one thing, so women tend to get labeled much faster. I think I was saying this when I started, that I'm very vocal, in any forum, be it at work, be it at home, and I've heard men come and say, "Oh, don't be so aggressive, tone it down." I'm like, all right, it's probably the same thing that we are both chasing sales figures, right? We're both chasing this. How is my thing aggression and your thing strategic? Right, so that feminazi also, I believe, is a label often unfairly put. See, we need feminism. Why do we need feminism? I don't object. Why not? And have feminism, have everything ism. The point is, we need activism, because there has been, and that no one can deny, right? For so many thousands of years, there have been practice biases and practice discrimination. And it's not just in India, and across the world. If you know the story of Albert Einstein's wife, she was a very talented scientist. She was failed twice because only she passed the written with flying colors. She was failed in the Viva because she was a woman. She could have also won a
Oh,
Nobel Prize. You never know. His first wife. She would never know. So you never know. She could have also won a Nobel Prize. Because we have faced this kind of discrimination, now we have to probably raise our voice a notch higher to get the equal rights, because it's kind of a lot of years of discrimination and gap that we have to catch up on. Having said that, I agree with Sikta. Yes, there has to be balance, and I do not always have to wear the women rights thing on my, as a badge. It's just that consciously or unconsciously, whatever I do, I make sure I do not practice inequality, or I do not encourage inequality, or I do not encourage biases either against me or any other woman. If I'm just doing that, I think our job as feminists are done. We don't always have to be aggressive about it. We don't always have to write long pages on social media about it. Just taking stand in very small things, right? So, for instance, if someone comes and makes a comment, I've allowed my wife to work, object there. And if you're getting labeled as a part of that objection, if you're getting labeled as a feminazi, I mean, probably who cares? It's finally the stand that you are going to take. And if you are going to take a stand, if you're going to take a stand on some issue, you will always know there will be people who will have issues with you. You will have to learn to deal with it. So I don't take the feminazi thing very seriously. I think it's just most of the time it's frustrated men, or it's sometimes even women, saying it. But if we kind of walk that balance, ask if we know what we are, if we're confident about what we stand for, I don't think we need to take those criticisms to heart.
yeah. Okay, so Sanjeev says, given India's internet penetration, don't you think we should have stricter cybersecurity laws in process that stops men or anyone from threatening women online and scaring them voicing opinion? Oh, that's a real good question, and it's open for
Absolutely.
all.
I think absolutely, so there have been women, so I might disagree with certain women. I might not agree with everything a Swara Bhaskar is saying. My line of politics might be different from hers, but the way that, some women like her, and I'm kind of taking her as an example because I think she's one very brutally trolled. And and it's not just it's not just trolling. They have been subjected to, threats of death threats, rape threats, and all of that. Now we definitely need stricter cybersecurity laws, and we need to enforce them. The laws are probably already there. And in India, the unfortunate thing is you often have laws for everything, but the laws are not enforced. So examples need to be made out of those cases. If you see that if a personality like a Tapsi Panu or a Swara Bhaskar or a Faye D'Souza or a Barkha Dutt is getting trolled online, what chances do average does an average woman have? So it is very important that we have examples of cases being made. Women themselves, we often do not fire, I mean, and that this happens, right? And a lot of the time abusers get away because we do not take a stand, and we are not sure if should we file an FIR. But if some examples are made of these cases of this trolling and those trollers are actually punished, then I think more women will definitely get the courage to come out more in the open. I know social media is often a myth, but still, having said that, it is a medium, it is a platform that will enable the voices of several women. Let's not stifle them. The government definitely has a role to play. The government cannot be selective about its basis, and cannot have any political bias on this. If you are threatening a woman, if you are issuing threats to her, if you're abusing her, you need to face the penalty. So that is very important. And I think, activists like Faye D'Souza, Barkha does repeatedly call out their trawlers very openly, and they make
Yeah.
cases out of it. And I think more and more women need to do that.
Yeah, they actually put a post as to what the troller said and what their opinion about the troller is, or what the troller has said. So yeah, would any of you like to add to this? No, we can move ahead then.
Yes.
Yeah. So now when we are talking about women, we have definitely talked about women who are, born as women and who are living lives of a woman. But having said that, we also need to talk about the LGBTQI spectrum. So, in that sense, talking about lesbian women who are marginalized, talking about trans women who have transitioned to becoming a woman. So, how in your like lives or in your practice or in your profession have you seen such women? Have you helped them? And what would you, want to do in case you come across such women who tell you that we have been, cut out of certain things, or we are not given equal wages, or whatever discrimination is happening regarding them? So, what do you have to say about that, and what action do you think that you would take or have taken in the past?
Uh, Honestly, I haven't had, very. I think LGBT rights are very important, and I've seen that very strongly practiced in the West. In India, I think it's still a closeted issue and is subject to a lot of bias. We still even our laws are not equal when it comes to recognizing LGBT rights. I have not come across a case, as in, so I wouldn't be the right person to comment on this. But uh, you know if, for example, I think my stand would be universal in this case. um, that, as far as professional opportunities are concerned, at least there should be no discrimination. I cannot change the mentality of people entirely. That is something that, of course, will change over time. But individually, as a professional, ensuring that there's no professional bias, as an entrepreneur, ensuring there's no professional bias in the organization, that's something I've ensured. But I cannot give you an example because there's no example for me to
Yeah.
quote. I've not come across a case that I facilitated.
So in the design community, actually, I think people are much more open and they're not as closeted, I feel, because I feel the judgment is also a bit lesser if you do come out of the closet. So I I've had some friends who, have for many years hidden the identity and then eventually come out. And their rights are actually somewhat of a gray area because first they're actually dealing with their own identity crisis before they actually move on to even getting rights. I mean, ordinary women who are struggling to even get these rights from their own families, from governments. So I think it's a much steeper and tougher climb for the LGBTQ community because it's a three-pronged sort of problem for them. One is sort of recognition of who they are as a person and who they identify with. Second is acceptance from their families and communities, empowering them. And third would be again the law by the government, which give them rights. So this is actually quite in the near future, and as and more people are actually speaking out more in India, this is going to become a real big problem as we see it in other countries where the societies have slightly been a little more evolved than ours. So, very soon, I think, as government, we will have to address this situation and start thinking ahead about what sort of rights to provide to people who are from the community for them to feel like they're at par with all other women in India.
Yeah, yeah. Snigdha, would you like to add to it, like coming from Gen Z? Because you know
Yeah.
what, I have certain stats, and so the Gen X, like the coming out percentage in the Gen X was 3 point something, 3.6, 3.8 some percentage. And then in the millennials, the percentage was 10.6. And then in Gen Z, it rose to 20 point something, like the coming out percentage. So you being from Gen Z, what is your take on this?
Um, I potentially, I don't know what is, the fuss about gays and lesbian. I mean, it's just a sexual preference. I think they're so talented. I would say gays are so fun to be with. Like the way they talk, the fashion sense, they're so creative. The best thing is that I think the number of gays I've seen, talking or, interacting, or even people who I'm again taking social media stand here. There's so many gays on social media and they do such amazing work and I really like it. Like, it's so sad to see that just because of some preferences of them, they're getting like shadowed black, like in the, like they're not being able to come out and showcase their talents and just be like the opportunities that we're getting is being privileged or something. I mean, this privileged term is also getting somewhere here, that just because our sexual preference is something else, we are normal, but their sexual preference is something else. It's like they're not normal and I don't understand the fuss about it because I personally have no problem. I mean, if I have a best friend, and I honestly have so many friends who, tend to say that they're gay or they're lesbians. And I'm like, fine, that's great. I mean, you do you. I mean, if you're happy being with a girl or with a guy, it's definitely your choice. And, it wouldn't be a factor for me to rethink my, decision with that person or rethink my friendship or bond with that person. I honestly support. And I think because so many people are starting to see this as actually a matter to be discussed about, and like it's normal, like we're trying to normalize this particular topic. Now, slowly, slowly, I think people are getting a little less, scared to come out in the open. So I think that's why the statistics speak as they are.
That's true because there is more and more acceptance, and as Mithila also said, that inclusivity has increased, and but the major problem is definitely, as she said, that first is accepting themselves and then making other people accept them, like multiple times coming out to multiple people, and yeah, that causes a lot of emotional upheaval in their life, and then later comes the professional thing, of course. So yeah, there is that thing. Lastly, I think we have come to the end of our show today. So the last thing that I would like to say, that I think we should collaborate with each other. All the women who are here in this session, as well as the other women who would like to collaborate with us for helping women empowerment in the future also. So let us all get connected and collaborate in the future as well. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation for this show and coming here and talking openly about women's rights on International Women's Day and on the topic of inspire inclusivity.
Thanks so much, Surabhi.
Thank
Thank
you for having us.
you.
This was very enlightening.
It was.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being a part of this. So here at Evrox Healthcare, we come out and talk about multiple certain issues. As I told earlier, we talk about mental health, we talk about physical, medical health, we talk about social issues, just as today's. and this is how we will continue with our show that is on Mind Matters. Evrox Healthcare has come up with its app, that is the Ev1 app. For the demo of this app, the doctors can contact on the number that will come on the poster. Not today, because today we couldn't flash the poster, but yes, otherwise you can definitely contact. Yes, so yeah, you can see the number flashing right here. So for the demo, please contact on that. You can join this app, get your teleconsultations from all over India and even abroad. Please like, comment, and subscribe our channel on Facebook and on YouTube. As of date, we will come up with more such channels soon. Have a good night.